Hi guys, Acesup here. Day 10 and going okay so far, trying to build a few stacks. Had some comical hands, which I'll bring up in a moment. Ace Queen bottom middle here is pretty close. I think I might actually call here, just because this guy's been really tight and don't really feel pumped about getting it in against his type of range at M10, even though traditionally, obviously, that's a pretty sort of easy jam around that stack size. We do have the benefit now of sort of leaving in some worse hands. But one of them is Ace Jack, which is unfortunate. But, sorry, I just busted that. I'm going to close that. But I don't think we can fold at this point now, and we're too far high up in our range. If he's got Ace King or Ace Jack, I guess you can have Jacks as well, but I just think that even though we said he was kind of tight, these low stakes sort of fishy players, well, let's think about this. I just think they have a little bit, I just think they're capable of making mistakes in terms of, and you'll see that in a moment when I bring up some interesting hands. It's just, this guy's been kind of tight though, so it is a bit different from the norm. I don't think he's just a sort of, I mean, he could prove me wrong in a minute and roll, and he could roll like pocket eights or king 10 or something. But I think actually he has ace king a lot here. Maybe even ace jack or jacks. But I just don't think he could have clubs. He could just be spazzing out. He could sometimes bet with, I think, worse, like ace 10 and stuff, ace 9. Maybe sometimes he's just like, well, you know, this guy hasn't raised at all any point. So I'm just going to bet away because he, you know, he's probably got a weak ace at best. So, and the pot odds as well, but it is for our tournament life. But yeah, same hand. So I wouldn't say we were lucky, but a little bit lucky against that player's range. I think so. You can see what I was talking about how I said I wasn't really pumped. Wouldn't have been pumped to get it in. And yeah, he was kind of tight. Let me just get these tables here going properly, guys. What are we going to bring in here? Bring in this. Got a few chips in that. And bring in the 6 max as well, because the action gets goes around pretty quick in that, and so I need to be on my toes and ready to respond to the 6 max action. I like to have the short-handed tawnies, as you know, more central. And what was I going to say? Yeah, the hands. Let's see if we can find a few of these fun hands. There's a pocket sevens. Where did I get move table? I know it was this deep stack tawny. Here it is. Just bring this hand in quickly. Slow it down a bit for you to have a look at. Pocket sevens. The opponent, I think I didn't really have that much history on him, but it's only a $22 buy-in. I bet flop because our hand needs protection. And I think we can get a little bit of value from ace highs and sometimes the odd smaller pair and of course the draws. I think even like a king high might call a lot here, and some players, you've probably heard me mention it before, they really like to battle for the blinds. They don't like to give up their blinds easily. pretty common theme at the low stakes especially. And so I go into check call mode. Now I hit the 7 on the river. I would have check called anyway on, I think, any card at all. Maybe if the river was an ace and he jammed. I'm not sure about that one, but probably any card at all I was check calling on. Because in a situation like this, if we're thinking about what his value range is, he hasn't 3-bet pre. So he shouldn't have a big pair. I mean, he could have trapped once in a while, but I guess he can have a 3 some of the time. He can have, I guess, ace 10 might even raise pre, but there's some 10 combinations. He might have like 10 jack plus. Even, I guess, any 10 maybe he might go for thin value, especially considering the line we've taken. He could have backed into... I think I'm just going to jam this hand up here. He could have backed into hearts. What are you going to do here? Pot it, top right, pot it. Yeah. He could have backed into... Sorry, guys. Actually, a really nice flop for our hand. Well, somehow he gets there. Somehow he gets there. I should have raised it a little bit larger pre than pot. It is no limit. It is a progressive jackpot though, so there is some merit to sort of having players in and getting them all in post, since you can collect cash. But he may have gone with his hand. These guys play pretty loose. I should have raised a little bit larger pre, because the flop jam was a little bit too... It was a little bit too big. Didn't make a lot of sense, I think. Yeah, so I check and he shoves. Obviously, we're just calling off now. It would have been pretty tough if the river was a scare card. King of diamonds, ace of diamonds, or something like that. I don't think blind on blind, though. I just think these players have really too many bluffs in their range. So I was talking about what he might value with before. And we were saying he might go and try and get value with a 3, maybe a 10. He could have backed into hearts. So there is certainly, I mean, there's a bunch of hands he can value bet with, for sure. But at the same time, what do we think he will bluff with? Well, in this type of situation, I think that, probably any King X and Queen X and all sorts of other trash that he might have floated with. Jack 9 gets there. But I just think, given the amount of bluffs that he has, it's normally in this type of situation, and one of the main mistakes that players at the low stakes make is they have too many bluffs in their range. And I think this blind on blind is when it's at its worst, well, at its best for us. And so I call, and he does indeed actually show us the King 4. And so it wasn't surprising at all, but I think that's pretty standard for a sort of a low stakes fish, $22 buy-in. This guy's raised small blind, he's got nothing, I'm just going to barrel my stack off. Yeah, I mean, I think that's... I had a bit of a chuckle when I saw it, but as amusing as it was, it's not that surprising at all. I see it, you see it all the time. And there was another similar hand, but probably not quite as fun as that one, but we'll just focus on these tables that we've got here for now. I wonder if we can get value there. What do we got here? Ace Queen. And he's checked it to the river. I'm not sure I can quite fold this, can I? Maybe I can. Ace king, slow played hands. Maybe I can. Wow. Maybe I can fold it. Wow, it's so hard. I was just talking about how these guys have too many bluffs in their range. And then this hand comes along. What have we got here? 15, 18. Hasn't bet on the turn. Hasn't bet on the flop. Just such a bad card for him to bluff on. But he did nonetheless. I think he might think he's value betting with ace jack, I guess. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to fold down there. It's a bit annoying. So we got going here. Let's bring in some more tables here. Let's go with the big stack table. So we want to be a little bit careful. Coming off we had the 6.5k pickup yesterday. Don't want to go too crazy with our roll, obviously. We can be, just can't think of English words today. We can be a little bit more, we say, liberal with the, a little bit more relaxed with our buy-ins. But at the same time, I think a lot of players make the mistake when they have a score like that of just going, yeah, I can play 100 rebuy, you know, I can play 100 turbos, you know, I've got the roll now, I've got over 6,000, well, over 8,000 now with our initial bankroll. So, yeah, you definitely want to refrain from doing that, you know, because it's easy to go on a downswing and then it's just jumping in the deep end too quickly. So we're going to just keep sort of doing what we've been doing and playing a nice assortment of buy-ins. Lots of 22, 33, 55 type of things, and some 11s, and just keep massaging and building up this roll. I think I'm gonna check. Well, I think what I'm gonna do here. I might actually donk lead. I think it's a little bit risky. Some players completely spaz out when you donk lead, and we don't have a hand that can exactly take, you know, a lot of heat. We can also rep diamonds, which is part of the reason why I did it. The other option is check raise flop, which is fine, and then fire some barrels. And we managed to get the second barrel through. So, I mean, in terms of a leading range there, yeah, I might sometimes, well, I don't know, if I might lead bottom two and sometimes, and some draws as well, big draws. Yeah. Not that that was a big draw necessarily, but when you're considering we're just against, I think it was button, was he? Then with two overs in the up and down, it's pretty good for the situation. And we've been running okay, haven't we? We ran kind of good for a while yesterday. We were saying we were running pretty bad endgame. And then we won a few flips. Did lose a couple of crucial pots. But his king against the jacks was huge. But We ran okay, so we're just going to just keep doing what we've been doing, play solid, try and get some run good at the right time, and exploit these fish, exploit these fish. So I'll just zone in now, guys. I'll probably just stop the recording for a little bit. You got to be careful. One more thing before I do, just on the continuing on a bit about our score from yesterday. It was a very long session. You do got to be careful you don't get burnt out, and you do want to consider taking days off, I think. Today probably would have been a good day to take off. I do feel my brain is almost swollen. I kind of feel, I feel just my head a little bit heavy. I've been doing pretty long sessions, staring at the screen a lot, and yesterday was a very long session. We really had to focus a lot, so you do got to be careful you don't get a bit burnt out and run yourself down too much. But having said that, sometimes after you have a bit of a score, you're always hungry for more and want to get back into it. And that was kind of the case today. So I want to keep building this role and get it done. So yeah, just a few words there on taking time off. It is a good idea. Get a bit of a mental refresh, and probably be something I'll be looking at doing this week. Just spend some time off doing some other things, relax, don't think about poker, and a bit of a time for you to clear your mind and give it a bit of a much needed break. But for now, let's plug away and try and make some final tables, and I'll bring you the action soon.